Howdy, folks, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. And tonight we got another great show for you. We are going to get right back and join Buffalo Bill and the fiascos that are going on for Buffalo Bill number 9, Buffalo Bill's Best Shot. And we join him back at chapter 25, The Comanche's Threat. And hopefully we'll be able to finish up tonight. It's just a little short spot, so go back, kick back, get yourself something nice and warm and hot to drink, or whatever your favorite beverage is, and we're going to enjoy a nice reading, just like they did in the old time days. We're off of radio. You don't even have to watch me speak, but I got the words on the screen. So, let's go back when men were men and women were women, and the West was wild. Absolutely. And we're gonna kick right into this. No dilly daddling tonight, except I want to thank you all for coming. Thank you so much for joining me here and taking your precious time. Eventually, after this whole thing is done, we will have it in a playlist and you can listen to it all in one big shot and hear it as one long story. I know I enjoy these things, and I don't know if you do, but if you do, you don't, it doesn't matter. Just take it all in. If you don't like it, well, join me on the next show and we'll talk about something else. And that's for sure. But tonight we're talking about Buffalo Bill and getting right back in the story. So let me pull this up and we'll start right in. And there we go. We're going to make that full screen. There. Maybe we'll do this. No, we're going to do this. Okay. Chapter 25. Who are you, and what does this scene mean, which we have just witnessed? Cried the general as Dave halted in front of him and saluted. You used to call me Little Dave, the scout general, said Estes. I'm not in parlor rig just now. I've been a butchering. Dave Estes, the scout, cried the general. What a terrible fight you have had. We saw it all. The bully's fight, and the bulliest little cuss that ever drew a knife, shouted California Joe. General, will you please raise the white flag to keep them Indians right where they are till I can make a full report, cried Dave. After seeing how uneasy Spotted Tail sat on his horse, watching what was going on. They'll not stir till I tell them to after the flag is seen, Buffalo Bill promised peace. I'll show the flag, said the general. That can do no harm. Well, I hear you who they are and what Buffalo Bill has promised. Instantly, a white handkerchief was raised on a drawn saber, told the Indians that the pale-faced warriors desired peace. Now, Dave, tell me what Indians those are. First, a band of Comanches that were under a chief known as Kamat, the Tiger. I've heard of him, a bloodthirsty savage. He is done for now. It was with him I had that little difference, which you have been looking at. A pretty heavy difference, I should say. But go on. The rest are Sioux under the command of Spotted Tail. Miss Spotted Tail and Mrs. Spotted Tail is an angel in buckskin are in the party. Spotted Tail, the deadliest enemy of all the whites, worse than Red Cloud has ever was, exclaimed the General Custard. Buffalo Bill has worked the old cuss over, General. He has promised peace, and you can bet your shoulder straps he'll keep his word. If he does, it will be better than a dozen campaigns. If you will permit me to ride back now, General, I'll tell the Indians to go to the camp on the side of the brook, while you can take the other, and you can see Spotted Tail and his chiefs, and bind them down with your strong talk. All right, my brave man, but it seems you fought a regular duel, a knife battle, and that bloodthirsty Comanche Kamat, What was that about? General, I almost hate to tell you, but I suppose I must. He was in love with Dove-Eye, the daughter of Spotted Tail, and so was I. He called me a pale-faced dog, and I knocked him down. Then we fought it out, and I got the best of it. Ah, that I saw how he wiped out his defeat. Dave now went back to Spotted Tail, who received him with more respect than ever. You are no longer a little brave, he said. You are great brave. I adopt you for my son, and I name you Tuni, the tiger killer. You do you hear that, Dove-Eye? Cried Dave, delighted. The old man says I'm his son. Dove-Eye is glad that the little brave has conquered his enemy. Here are his weapons, said the girl, without the least show of feelings, as she handed Dave his hunting shirt, rifle, and belts, and shield of the dead Comanche chief. The scout now conveyed the orders of the general to Spotted Tail, and the Indians of his tribe at once went into camp. But the Comanches took up the body of Kamant, and wrapping it in his robes, held themselves aloft in gloomy council. When Dave was arranging with Spotted Tail for a talk to take place that night between him and the general, the oldest brave of the Comanches approached the spot where the scouts stood. Paleface, said he, the Comanches will go back to their own land to bury their chief in the ground where his fathers have been laid. But the spirit of the great tiger of the Comanches will never rest while you walk the earth. We go now because our chief shook hands with Spotted Tail, and we will not break his peace. But we shall come wherever you go, and we shall take your scalp. The Comanches turned away from Dave before he could reply, and a minute afterwards the whole band rode away in darkness. Chapter 26, The Dying Chief and the Portraits. Buffalo Bill could not rest after he had finished the hunger, for he wanted to see what was going on in the camp of the Blackfeet. Telling Red Plume to remain with Sunflower and the captain while he was out to scout, he left the cave and again clambered up the precipice and proceeded to the lookout. When he got to the point, the scout adjusted his glasses and commenced his observation. The Sioux are on the warpath, was the first exclamation, but they are fighting the Blackfeet in squalor. There does not seem to be a general battle. Ah, one with the Blackfeet is leaving in a hurry, a courier to rally the rest of the tribe. I'll spoil his game if he comes a little closer of a half-mile range. This last remark was made when Buffalo Bill saw one single Indian, mounted on a powerful horse, dashing away from the camp and ride a course to bring him almost to rifle shot. At once he left his position and ran to a point which could bring him within shot of the Indian. He did not get another sight of him until he had reached an abrupt point of the rocks where the pass through the mountain left a way easy to traverse. He'll come through there, said the scout. An instant later, the Indian came in sight. Buffalo Bill drew back behind a cedar and for once in his life took a rest. He generally scorned to this, always firing off hand as quick as thought when he raised his rifle or pistol, but he was all of a tremendous for his run, and he knew all depended upon his first shot. So he covered his man as he came nearly head over and fired. He was almost sure he missed, for the Indian never swerved in his seat, and the horse bounded steadily forward, so he could not get in sight over his rifle and fired again. Just as his finger touched the trigger, the horse raised over to leap over a fallen tree, and the bullet pierced his head instead of the breast of the Indian. The horse fell, and the Indian went with him. Seeing that the latter did not rise, the scout, with his weapon cocked, approached the spot and found that his first ball had done its mission, had pierced the breast of the red man. But that astonished Buffalo Bill most was that this Indian was Yellow Bear, yet alive but dying. The chief recognized him, and gasping his name, Long Rifle. "Yes," said the scout, "Yellow Bear's trail is ended. I did not know it was him when I fired, but I made promise to Spotted Tail once, and I have kept it." The dying chief did not seem to notice what the scout was saying, but with a spasmodic effort he tugged at the thong which was about his neck until he pulled a buckskin bag from under his hunting shirt. "Take and keep this for Cynthia the Sunflower." Gasping, the chief, when she goes to the happy hunting grounds, she will know her father and mother if she keeps this. The chief raised his bag in his hand and looked fixedly on the scout for a moment, and then his head fell back. He was dead. Buffalo Bill looked at him with pity. Then he said, "I'm sorry. I gave my word to Spotted Tail to take his scalp, but I did, and I must keep it. I don't like to lift hair. It is out of my line, but I must do it to keep my pledge. But this bag, I'll see what is in it." The scout opened the bag and found in it 2 morocco cases containing 2 painted miniatures, done in ivory, facing each other. One was the portrait of a woman, and the other, the golden hair, blue eyes, and lovely in the extreme. The other was a man, young and handsome, but with a darker face and hair. Under the picture of the woman, written on the ivory, was the name Adelaide Benoist. Under the picture of the man was written Irdewat Benoist. The astonishing scout gazed for a moment on these pictures and then opened the other case. It contained a picture of an infant with a wealth of golden curls, framing in the loveliest face that Buffalo Bill ever saw. He looked at it in an instant and muttered, "I've seen a face like that somewhere." Under the picture was written Celise Benoist. And then a thought struck him. Is Cynthia herself? Is it Cynthia, the Sunflower, as she was, and there are the pictures of her parents? I will take them to her. They may lead her to a happy reunion yet. The scout placed the bag in his hunting pouch, and then, with a sigh of regret and at the act, he took the scalp from the head of Yellow Bear. "I must keep my promise," he said, as he looked at the pallet of the scalp lock, trimmed and ochre-tinted strings. "Spotted Tail, if he ever sees the scalp, will know it. I must go back to the cave and tell Cynthia what I have done." The scout now put the scalp out of sight and then turned back over his trail with much slower steps than those taken when he came. He paused to look down at the plains, and he saw that the Indians appeared to be concentrated and that the fighting had ceased. The Sioux came out ahead, he muttered as he passed on. Chapter 27. Dove Eye recognizes her friend. Encamped with a good grazing ground for their horses, plenty of wood and water at hand, and game abundant for all around, the cavalry under General Custer was having with little buckshot turn a bully time, while the Indians under Spotted Tail, pleased with the sundry presents, were glad to be at peace with the warriors, who were so much better armed and mounted than they were. Spotted Tail, his wife, and daughter were the recipients of marked attention from the officers of the command, especially the latter. The girl seemed to pay no heed to those flattering attentions. Bright buttons and shoulder straps were now attractive to her eyes, and that is more than can be said of the pale-faced sisterhood as a general thing. Dave Estes, though honored by the general and his officers as the object of the envious admiration among all the Sioux warriors, as well as the adopted son of her father, made no apparent advance in the favor of Dove-Eye. He had tried to give her presents. She had refused them kindly, but firmly. The acceptance of a present means more with a girl of the red-faced race of America than it does with the white ones. He had asked her what he could do to please her. "Go and find Long Rifle for me." Was her answer. Dave did as asked permission of General Custer to go and hunt up his mate, but the general did not wish to spare him until a treaty had been concluded with Spotted Tail and the other chiefs, and as Smokes had been sent up to call them together, he told him no expedition could leave for the present. The warriors of the Sioux Nation began to come in and answer to the smoke signals, and General Custer had decided that on the third day from the time he encamped, he would hold a council, or a big talk, as Spotted Tail denominated it. It was now the second day of the encampment, and it was well advanced. General Custer said to his officers, "Buffalo Bill must be found for this grand council." "Let Dove-Eye go," said the young daughter of Spotted Tail. "She will find Long Rifle if he lives, or revenge him if he is dead." "I wish she loved me as she loves Buffalo Bill," murmured Dave. "The gal is just crazy after him. I told her he was married, but that didn't make a bit of difference with her. She said he was a great hunter and could feed a dozen wives." General Custer laughed, but the girl looked as grave as ever. It was near sunset, and the soldiers were all gathering together in anticipation of a roll call when a large band of Indians were reported coming in from the west. The command was put under arms as usual until the character of the visitors was asserted. Suddenly, the cry of joy. Dove-Eye bounded up. The horse of the great general, which stood saddled close by, and called out one name, dashed off to meet the advancing column. The name was Long Rifle. Chapter 28. A Little Surprise. "Well, that's cool," said General Custer, laughing as the young squaw dashed away on his horse. "She sees Buffalo Bill coming." "General," said Dave Estes, "the gal has gone clean crazy after him." "Let not Tuni grieve," said Spotted Tail. "He shall have the most handsomest wife or women in my tribe for his wives." "Thank you, boss, but I'll rather have one, and that one is my choice." The attention of all was on the approaching party. In front of the Indians was Buffalo Bill on Powder Face, while by his right side rode a white girl, so strangely beautiful at the picturesque dress of an Indian maiden that the general and his officers spoke their wonder out loud. On his left, Dove-Eye rode proudly, managing the spirit horse of the general, while behind him came a Blackfoot Indian without war paint. It was Red Plume, and a white man, Captain Boyd. Behind their lances full of scalps and uttering yells which victorious warriors only can give, came Young Bear and a large party of Sioux. Buffalo Bill, rather abashed with a girl on each side of him, of such different types, halted when near the spot where General Custer and his staff stood and saluted. "I am glad to see you, my brave friends," said the general. "You see that your peace treaty with Spotted Tail has not only been kept but ratified. We will make a formal treaty tomorrow, so as to send a report to Washington." "I thank you, General, for your welcome. I hardly expect this pleasure to go an hour ago, but I have something here for Spotted Tail. I made him a promise when I asked him to keep peace with the white men. I told him I would rescue Dove-Eye, and I give him the scalp of her captor. There it is." Buffalo Bill handed a scalp to the Sioux chief. The moment the latter looked at it, he pronounced the name of Yellow Bear. "Yes, it is his scalp," said the scout. "My promise has been kept. Now keep yours. Never let your tribe raise a knife or a hatchet to the palefaces while you live." "Spotted Tail has given you his word, and he will keep it," said the chief firmly. Then, taking a hand of Dove-Eye, who had returned the horse of the general to his orderly, he led her toward the scout and said, "She loves you. Take Dove-Eye and treat her well." Buffalo Bill blushed scarlet. Then he stammered out, "Not for me, thank you. I've got the sweetest, best, and prettiest little wife that ever blessed a home. I want no other. Dove-Eye, there is Dave Estes, a brave as a chap as ever raised a rifle. He loves you. Take him, and he will make you happy." Dove-Eye looked at the scout for an instant without speaking. Tears gathered in the dark, mournful eyes. Then she drew her robe up over her face and turned away towards her father's lodge. "And now," said General Custer, "will you be so kind as to tell us who this beautiful white girl in Indian costume is?" "I'm afraid she cannot tell herself, General, and I am not sure I cannot. She has been reared from fancy by the Yellow Bear and the Blackfoot chief. He called her his daughter, but when he was dying, he gave me a bag with a miniature, or with a picture, the miniature of a baby, a man, and a woman. By what he said, I am sure that they are the pictures of herself as an infant, and her father and her mother. She has them, and will show you them too." The girl reached out of the bag, and General Custer took the pictures and read the names out loud. The general, turning to Cynthia, said, "You shall have a tent of your own occupation until we can reach a point where inquiries can be made that may restore you to relatives. I will not stay anywhere unless the dream spirit is with me," said Cynthia. It is determined tone, and she pointed to Boyd. "Who is this gentleman?" asked the general, as he now took notice of the young man. "You should know me if your memory is good, General," said the captain in a soft, pleasant tone. "It seems to me as if I had seen you before," said General Custer, striving to think when and where. "Do you remember making a capture after General Stewart was killed?" asked the captain with a particular smile. "Great heavens! Yes, you were the rebel officer." "Exactly, General. I came west to make my fortune after the war, and I found a gold mine that will pan out rich, and better still, one I hope to claim as my ride someday, or bride someday." "Yes," cried Cynthia, "I love the dream spirit, and he will be my husband." Chapter 29: The Comanche's Revenge. Nearly 2 months passed away. The Sioux, having pledged themselves to peace, were allowed to roam undisturbed over their extensive hunting grounds. Buffalo Bill and his partner Dave were once more located in their pleasant quarters at Fort McPherson, near the junction of the North and South Platte. Dave Estes, his most inseparable friend, was the companion of every hunt and ride, and few men enjoyed life better, at least in this desolate region. In quarters assigned to her by those in power was Cynthia the Sunflower, who had taken to reading and studying, though she dreamed a great deal yet. Cynthia, believing her name to be Celeste Benoist, had assumed it and dressed like other girls. She was very beautiful, though all she seemed more so in her old costume. Visited in a friendly way by the officers, who all treated her with profound respect, she was apparently happy. Braxton Boyd, her lover, had gone east to interest rich investors in his mine, and then he could ask Celeste Benoist to become his wife. I'm going to get an antelope for Major Brown. He has some friends coming from North Platte to dinner, said Dave Estes to Buffalo Bill. Very early on, a bright sunny morning, after they had got settled in quarters. Will you go along? I can, Dave, said Buffalo Bill. Not this morning, I mean. You know, the boys outside the fort have elected me justice of the peace, and now two of them have got up a suit, I reckon, just to see what I know. But no matter what it is for, it is to come off at 10 o'clock this morning, and I can't leave. All right, I'll knock over a couple while I'm about and bring one home for you. All right, Dave, but look out. You're here, mate. Remember, those Comanches threatened you. There isn't a Comanche within 300 miles of here. 2 hours later, an orderly from the fort came rushing in, booted and spurred, his saber jingling, shouting to Buffalo Bill, "You're wanted, sir. Quick, to the headquarters. Indians are in sight of the fort and have just shot down a man. The troops are mounting." Poor Dave, groaned the scout, as intuitively his heart and had told him who had fallen. The Comanches have killed and scalped him. I would wager life upon it. In a minute, he was armed and mounting. He rode Powder Face at full speed to the fort. In less than 5 minutes, the troops were out, but mounted on the best of horses, the Indians went like the wind over the plains, and pursuit was in vain. They found the body of Dave Estes literally riddled with Comanche arrows and with his scalp torn from his head. The body was brought in by Buffalo Bill, and it was given burial in the burying ground attached to the fort, where now the visitors can see that the heroic young lover of Dove has not been forgotten by those who knew him well and loved him too. Fortune not only favored the young man, Braxton Boyd, but had gone to the mining country to find gold, and he had found it, for he had got backers in the East to aid him, and riches came rushing in. But Celeste Benoist also had luck, as General Custer discovered, for her parents she could not recall. Her father had been an army officer on a gold train with others. All had been murdered by Yellow Bear and his braves, the chief adopting the child as his own. Going to dwell with her kindred, Celeste was sent to boarding school for a year and then became the wife of Braxton Boyd. And the two of them now live in a handsome house in Colorado. Dove returned with her father to their people, but the young girl refused all offers of marriage, and a year or two later died, true to her love for the great scout Buffalo Bill, whose deeds continued to make his name famous throughout the world, and which will continue to live on in history and romance for long ages to come. The end. Well, there you go, people. But anyway, I sure hope that you enjoyed that. And as we finish up our half hour of this show, that will be the conclusion of Buffalo Bill's Best Shot. I hope y'all enjoyed that. And remember, the West was wild and wilder than you could actually imagine. Death lurked around every corner, and every corner had adventure and romance in it. So gone are those wild days, but you can go to a park now and relax, sit under the big trees, and just imagine what it would be like camping and tenting and riding through the plains or the forest, hearing the Indian drums pounding in the distance, smoke signals floating up above, wild hoops, army soldiers marching down forgotten roads. And with that, please go out and do something nice for somebody. Enjoy life. Take in all the sights and sounds. Remember, life is short. You got to enjoy it. And remember, everybody, go out and be the frequency you want to receive, everyone. Love y'all. Peace, everybody.